because I can see that enthusiasm for Indian culture in you. I could see it in your books, in your writing, even the anthology that you created. And I think that is why readers connect with you, because your stories are so rooted in Indian culture. In fact, about shared roots, I wanted to understand, why did you choose this Indo-Cambodian cultural diaspora as your first anthology?
Indica, the Indica Academy, it publishes it has published several anthologies. Okay, I think, and they are all on very interesting, right topics. So for this particular one, I remember one morning, Hari Kiran Gar, who is the founder of Indica Academy, he called me and he's saying, Ratul, I have this idea about India and Cambodia. I know Lara Croft had entered into the conversation at some because she had, I think, adopted. I think Angelina Jolie had adopted a Cambodian child or something like that, and it struck him that he said that, Ratul, we should do an anthology on this.
Yeah.
And to be very honest, I was not like, oh yes, we have to do it. But Hari Kiran ji is somebody I can never say no, because Sutradhar, if he was not there, I would not be an author. Let me put it that way. Okay. So I told Harikanga that let me study this a bit and get back to you. Okay. And then I started reading. And it struck me that, okay, a new kind of, again, that who am I question opened up. I realized that, okay, I am part of not just this, I'm not just this one guy sitting in India. No, I am a successor of a civilization which spans across majority of Asia at one point, which you call the Indosphere. And we are the inheritors of that, which was larger in size than what the Mongols had. It was larger in size than what the Roman Empire was. It was it was a cultural sphere which was not bound by iron. It was a cultural sphere which was not bound by colonialism, but it was bound by shared. That really, really, you know, got me very excited. So that, and then I called him back and said, look, I would like to do this because I think it is something that I should like. I would like more people to know about this. I like at that time only I put the name Indosphere on it because I thought that, okay, people need to know it's not about just India and Cambodia. It represents a larger Indosphere. And that's how the book kind of. And then we sent out a very nice call for submissions, and seven very, very talented authors reached out from extremely diverse backgrounds, age group, backgrounds, extremely diverse. And I had a lot of fun. I will tell you because
A lot of fun
I
reading. I can tell you that.
because in this, it's like with Sutradhar and Rithan, I was the one who was writing most, right? But here I had to work with somebody else and, provide whatever support I could for them to create something that will serve this larger purpose. Yet, because although there are seven diverse authors, it should not be like the book feels very random. It should feel like, okay, there's a thread connecting all the stories. So that was a good creative problem. And I think I am like, with shared roots, I always say that, I am the full stop in that. It's something that is there as a strong cultural artifact, saying that, okay, we had thought about this and we have Indosphere as a book, as something tangible that people can now read upon and be inspired.
Even though these were seven different authors, as a reader I could see that connection, because you were the curator, so I could see that connection flowing, now that, okay, it is talking about the how Indian culture, how deep Indian culture is, and it is not just what we see today. I think it has condensed a lot. Thoughts have changed, but I could see that, and saw the similar deep rootedness to Indian culture in your other creations. I think as a salesperson, it got me thinking about one thing, that very few people know about the cultural integrities of these two nations, India and Cambodia. And like you talked about Indosphere, that how vast it was. Did it ever worry you that maybe if you talk about just the cultural integrities of just these two nations, it may limit the audience or how it would impact the book sales? Do these kind of thoughts ever worry you?
Not really. When I said that, okay, we'll try to make something out of machine. The single point aim was to create something which is culturally relevant, that tells a story about this connection. And the way I see it, and I hope Kiranji will forgive me for saying this, is that shared roots is not a single shot route. There should be a shared roots with India and Indonesia also. There should be a shared roots with India and Thailand also. India and Japan also. India and China also. And I think those should be all with different curators, so that it should always remain that fresh. So I think Indosphere as a larger topic with this particular book, it introduced the concept of Indosphere. And I think there should be follow-up books which actually, which in totality will probably form a collection called Tales of Indosphere with different countries. So I'm kind of taking a long-term view on that to address your question about, if somebody would question, oh, why only Cambodia? It is
Yeah,
because, I hope that every country
starting
within
point.
Indosphere gets it too, right? Regarding sales, I honestly didn't worry that much because, as I said, like once you start writing something, you have to be very, very true to your creative process. Let me be very frank. My livelihood does not depend upon this particular book. Neither any of the authors who are there, neither big academic because what mattered to all of us was the cultural integrity, was truth. So 100% of our focus went into making sure that we were honest to ourselves, that we could creative express ourselves as best as we could. And then we trust the reader. Whoever is reading this, we trust the reader saying that they will find that value while reading on this. Because it is something absolutely new. I don't think a similar kind of normally when we talk about a relationship between two countries, there are non-fiction books like history books. I think I really don't know if there's another book which tackles this particular subject in fiction as a cultural thing. So I
Right.
think our focus was always on, creating that path breaking experience because it was not done. It hadn't been done. And sales and all, while they're important, I think there is a different kind of mindset you need to start out on a project. Like if you want to start out on a project or on a book, that's it. Okay, I'm writing this book in order to make a certain amount of money, in order to get a certain amount of sales. Then you have to do a lot of calculations because, and I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I'm not doing a validation. I'm saying that the creative process itself will then change. It will then have a lot of market analysis. It will not have a lot of things that okay, what are the things that are that will get people hooked onto it? What are the best ways I can get marketing hooks into
True.
that book? I think the way you approach it from the outset kind of changes versus when you approach something purely as a creative exercise. And I think on shared roots, we were on this. We were approaching it purely as a creative exercise, and I think everybody within the group was kind of aligned on that.
Yeah, I think that is, I think what makes your, all three of your books very different because you're focusing on just creating something that, that resonates with your, with your thought process and with your beliefs. And, I think that is what really, that is what really puts the creations apart from the rest of, so many other creations. It makes your work stand out. I feel that this is a very interesting idea that this shared roots Indo-Canadian, Indo-Cambodian thing could be just the starting point. I feel as a reader, I would love to read more stories about I don't know Indian, Indonesian cultural integrity, Indo-Japanese, everything. I mean, of course, because you're absolutely right. It was so vast. So we can see parts of Indian culture being rooted in different countries, even thousands of miles away. So no, this is something that As an author, I'm really glad that you're exploring this. And of course, sales, I was born and bred in sales, so it comes in
So
invariably.
it should, because
Yeah,
it's a very important part of this whole thing that we do.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, but my point is that if your primary focus
Yeah,
is sales, then the approach that you take of
would
in
be,
the creative part, it would be different. And there's no good or bad here.
yeah.
I think they're equally valid. But
Mm.
it's just I am, for these particular books, we have been like completely given a free rein to our the creative expression. Yeah,
I think that
no
is really
compromise.
shown. I mean, both all the writing styles and all stories was different, I think the foundation was one. Do you ever plan to write something specifically for millennial or Gen Z audience to pull them more towards the Indian culture?
So again, when I write, I really don't think about an audience or
Audience.
this is who it is. There's a very famous quote. It's one of my favorite quotes by Akira Kurosawa. Uh, Akira Kurosawa, in one of his interviews, had mentioned that people connect with, and I'm just paraphrasing, people with human emotions, which are
Yeah,
universal. The form might be different. So, why are samurai movies? So, why do people who have got nothing to do with samurais like that? Because if you are true to telling a particular story and then tell it really, really well, then people will look beyond the cultural markers that are very specific and identify with the emotional human markers, which are universal.
yeah.
And as an author,
Mm.
this is what I always try to do.
Mm.
That try to, when I say questions like, who am I? That's a universal question. So the treatment might be intensely local or intensely personal or intensely culturally specific. But I think if you do it well enough, then people will look beyond that and find and hook on to or latch on to that universal emotion that is told well. Because I believe that, see, I am not a millennial or a Gen Z or no, or I'm not somebody like I am a middle class Bengali from Kolkata. Okay. I have a certain way of looking at things. I can never be not true to that. I will write like culturally, I am wired in a certain way, and and that is going to get reflected. I had folks who had no connection with India. Absolutely, they knew nothing about these subjects. The person who reached out to me and told me that how much they enjoyed that particular parts of it, sections of it, the book. Multiple people who were from very, very diverse backgrounds, whether they're Asian, whether they're American, whether they are Europeans, reached out to me and said, so for me, my bet on myself is that I would be as honest as possible.
Yeah,
That whatever I am going to put it on the pages. And hopefully people will look beyond the cultural layer to the, you know, into the universal layer. That's how, like, if you look at, kung fu movies, it's a uniquely Chinese thing, but
yeah.
people all over the world love it because there are certain universal things that comes in, like through practice, a good guy can beat up a bad guy. Same with samurai movies, same with gangster movies, and there are certain emotions. Like I have very little in common with let's say Batman. It's a fantastical thing. What do I have or you have in common with somebody? A Batman, a cape, and jumping around in a. But the reason why we connect with those fantastical things is because we look beyond. For me, that tapping into that essentially universal emotion,
Mm.
that is the key to writing it. Because you can be as, you can use Gen Z specific lingo and, you can use whatever you want. But if you don't have that universal human emotion, your book will be very hollow. It will be just be like, okay, something which is very shallow. People, and I don't want to end up there. I
Right.
would rather, focus and put all my efforts into creating something that is more.
That's a beautiful thought because Like you rightly said, every reader, every viewer connects to the emotions. When I was writing my first book, there were, there were so many things going wrong in my life, and I just wanted to write. I was like, I have to vent. Till the time I completed the first draft, I was kind of pushing away my emotions. I was like, okay, I just have to write. So I wrote all this crime thriller, action, everything was there except for emotions. And I gave it that first draft to my friend, and she said that, okay, but we don't know anything about your protagonist. You know, she's a woman. We know what's happening in her life. We don't know how she's feeling about it. And I was like, that is so true because I completely sidelined the emotions. And in the second draft, then I rewrote the whole thing, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to shy away from my emotions because I forged that character from within. There's a that Kiara is me and more. And I was like, okay, now I'm going to, in every scene, I will show how I was feeling. If I was in that situation, how I would feel. I would just include the emotions because my readers will not be able to connect with the story until I tell them how I'm feeling, how that character is feeling.
No,
So,
you did it well. I'll tell you that part where she opens the fridge and smells the dal and wrinkles, and I think I think that those are things that are real. Those are things that you and I, everybody will do, and they'll connect instantly. So doing those things means that you are, forging that relationship with the author. That okay, I am writing about something real. I'm writing about something which is which you can hold on to, and then because you've held on to the real part, I can take you on any fantasy ride.
yeah,
Whatever plots and all I can. But then I know that I will not lose you in that journey because you're holding on to the real thing.
right.
The real the real part inside Kiara.
Yeah,
The reader is supposed to hold on to that person, and because that person is holding on to, that's like that, that roller coaster attached to that. So wherever Kiara is now going, the reader is also going and
yeah.
feeling through those.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. That was, in fact, that was one of the things. So in the first draft, I got it beta read, and two people told me that, I know this is fiction, but it doesn't feel real. I was like, okay, that is a different level of basicity. That this is
Yes.
fiction we know, but it doesn't feel real. And that was a wake up call for me that I need to connect with my emotions so that I can make, the first chapter in Sutradhar, Newton's first. And when I was reading it, I could connect to it at a very different level because of the circumstances, the situation we are living in right now. Like a sage walking into a village and talking about impending doom. And we were, I mean, every day, these days, we, of course, each one of us comes across these situations wherein people are talking about that. ये होने वाला है, वो होने वाला है. Of course, you wrote it 5 years back in 2020, you released it. But was it really a metaphor for our cultural heritage being lost to ignorance? I mean, what was going on in your head when you wrote that?
It's like like all these are answering the question of who am I. Newton's first that particular story is about inertia. That's what that law is.
Yeah.
And I think inertia is one of those things that people underestimate a lot. That if I am doing something and if I've gotten used to it, even if the most credible person in the world comes and tells me that you should stop doing it, I will probably not do it until under say get some other push that will make me do so or change tack. And I find that I find it all over. Like my own father now is constantly on phone, on Facebook and all that stuff. I tell them that your eyes will get bad. Stop stop watching the
Just
phone so
staring at
much.
it. Yeah.
Like give your eyes a break. And he gets angry. Like, no, I'm going. So no matter how well intentioned you are, if somebody is doing something, if somebody has gotten used to certain things, it's very, very difficult to change their mind. Because our biggest hubris, you know what it is? Our biggest hubris and our biggest delusion is that we tell people that, oh, I'm very rational. I look at proof and then decide. But 99.9999% of the cases, we are not rational. We are extremely emotional.
True.
We end up doing what we were always planning to do, and we cherry pick data to say that, okay, because of this, if we are too rational, people would call us, oh, yeah, the computer just, he has got no emotions in it. Okay, you cannot choose by, it's socially almost impossible
We
to
were-
remain, 100% rational.
Yeah.
Okay, you become very cold and calculating. So the first, that's why it's the first story. It's because it was this one thing I had seen,
Mm.
and I knew it within myself also that I am doing certain things, even if I know it is wrong, because it's too much effort and too difficult to change my way of doing certain things
Yeah.
than to, like, it's rather I keep on doing, and then what will happen will happen. I'll see. I will rationalize a response to even something which is very real. So whether you talk about global warming, whether we talk about cigarette warning, whether you talk about, looking at the screen for too long, whether you talk about eating too much sugar or whatever,
Yeah.
in every single case, the person to whom you are telling already knows that this is not something you should be doing. You should be doing.
Very true.
But changing tack, and that is human nature. So with Sutradhar, one of the things that I wanted to do with each of the stories, like, explore these facets of human nature. That's part
Mm.
of that Who Am I question. So that first story is about exploring this. Like, no matter how crazy or no matter how much in danger, how much the danger is staring us in the face, very few people would, uh, you know, consciously change that. There was this incident I remember that this plane had developed a problem and it had landed, and there was flames coming out, and the emergency doors had opened, and they were telling that could immediately get out. And there were folks who were still trying to get the suitcases because they are conditioned to kind of and take it in a certain way, even though they know it is bad.
Yeah.
Even though they know that this is danger, they are in danger, they're putting everybody else in danger.
Mm.
But they'll still do. So it's something of human hubris that we always feel that we are, you know we are beyond, like,
Yeah.
how do I put it? We are beyond consequences until the consequences actually happen.
Yeah.
That's probably, that's the pace of the story.
It happens in our daily lives as well. We are the consequences until we face them. So yeah, that brings to mind the law of cause and effect. We are creating causes every moment, and we are also facing the effects of our causes every moment. So
That
it's
is karma.
yeah, it's a vicious
That is
cycle.
karma and karma phala. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It is, and that reflects in every story that you've written in Sutradhar. So it hits deep. That's why. And as a reader, as a fan of your work, I would love to know what's coming next. What's the next project that you're working on?
So unfortunately, there are like 4 or 5 ideas that I have right now.
Good for us.
None of them are in any position to be
Discuss.
even in a first draft stage. You had interviewed Neelam, right? And this is where I am the opposite of Neelam, because you'd have written 5 books on those
He's
five.
working on 3 books at a time.
Yeah. So whenever we have this conversation, I tell him that I have ideas and he has books.
Seriously.
So I have right now I would like to write something which is nothing like the previous three. So I will, like, carrying on this particular tradition of each book being like very, very different and none of them being a sequel.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that narrows down.
Okay, that narrows it down to, I don't know, crime thriller, some romantic suspense. The world
Let's
is
see.
your stage.
I am essentially a very lazy person. Sutradhar, it had taken me around 8 years, 8 to 10 years, to finish writing the 7 stories.
Oh,
Okay. I will not tell you which story I had written first. If you read the thing, you'll probably, it's a puzzle for you to work out. But it has been written about 10 years.
wow.
There have been periods in between where I haven't written anything for 2 years. And then I read. Then finally in 2020, 2019, I said that, okay, I need to get this off my thing. And then, I I finally finished and I had the manuscript in hand. But it had taken me around 10 years to complete. Ritrahan actually took much less. It took around 2 years to write. And Suchodhar around, sorry, and Shared Roots was only around 1.5. Next book, I really don't have an ETA. Uh, Not just you, a lot of people have asked, including my wife and my parents, up next क्या लिख रहा है? And I give them the sheepish smile that I have no idea. And I genuinely don't, because I get to the point where something comes from inside and say that I have to write this right now. I give very bad advice to writers normally, because all the nice advice is that, okay, you should plan every day, whatever you want to write, you write,
Which you never did.
you're right. Don't worry about it the first draft. You will not believe it. For Vritrahan, there were a couple of lines on which I spent 3 days. Like, I had written that line and I just stared at the line for like 2 days and then like changed it and made it something. I am like that. So I hope nobody takes my advice as a writer. They are invariably very, very bad advice. All the best practices is something that I am probably doing the ulta. So I have, like, when I write, I forget everything and then I write. Okay, I leave lunch, leave dinner, leave sleep, and then I write. And then when I don't feel like writing, no matter how I psych myself that, okay, आज तो ये chapter खत्म करना ही है, nothing comes out. Like, if I sit something, I'll start browsing the net and I will go on some, some rabbit hole I will fall into, and then I'll tell you, looks so interesting. And they will ask me, like, you're telling this interesting, but have you written? Have you finished that? So one good thing is that, Harikiran used to message me and say that, Ratul, when are you finishing Vritrahan? We need to launch this. I would say that, yes, maybe out of the 4 or 5 ideas that I have, I will not write out anything and something suddenly else will strike me and I'll start writing. I'm just genuinely, honestly telling you that I don't know. I don't have anything that is making me like commit to a book, because one of the things I do with any creative idea, and this is something not just books, but in general creativity, is that when something comes up, at that point it feels very awesome. Oh, I mean, this is a really cool idea.
Yeah.
And I let it marinate a bit. After 7 days, do I feel as passionately about that idea? And then I realized that if that flame has died down after 7 days, there's no way I'm going to complete it. Vritrahan, it kept me awake at night. Suchodhar was similar. It was always there at the back of my mind that I need to finish it. The idea might be really interesting, and I might not be the right person to do it also. Because for me, if I pick up a subject or if I pick up a theme, then I will try to do my best to, and if I am not confident that I will do justice, then it becomes difficult to maintain the. So let's see. Let's see.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, even though the universal guidelines on how to write, they be the same, that come back every day to the chair, write whatever crap, and then edit it later. I think these universal guidelines may be there, but I feel every author has their own creative process. I've realized this because so the first time in January 23, one of my friends told me that, okay, you've been writing short stories. Why don't you try and go beyond 3,000 words? And that just, shocked me. I was like, what would I write beyond 3,000 words? That is my upper limit. And she told me, okay, write anything on a noise. She gave me this one word, noise, and I was like, okay. So I started writing, and within 18 months, I had crossed 75,000 words. And that is how
Wow.
Flames was born. And after that, I had a second book in mind and the idea for the third book in mind. And that got me thinking that, okay, I did not know that I had all these things in my head. These stories, the story and the following stories, they are coming out of me. So, and I did try to come back to the chair every day, but I had a different process. I cannot, there are very, very rare moments when I'm actually focused and engrossed in writing the story and, pushing it forward page by page. But otherwise, it is just this that, I mean, even if I'm writing right now, I have three other things running in my head. अच्छा, ये करना, ये करना, ये करना, घर में ये करना, office में ये करना. So But yeah, somehow I'm able to push the story forward, and I think that I feel that is how every author has, every writer, every creator has their own creative process. Some people may have a very messy process. They have their hands in 10 different dishes, and then they are creating an every dish.
So it's about getting into what we call the flow state, right? And
Hmm.
there is a very Indian, uh, there's a way in our culture which explains the flow state very beautifully. It is about, elevating your consciousness. So you know about the concept of Kundalini, right? I know.
Yeah.
So the concept is that through a certain process, you are able to bring that up. And each of those points in our body actually elevates our consciousness and gets us working at higher and higher and higher levels until we reach that final state of bliss. That is all, So that is for high spiritual practices and
Mm.
all of that. But even functionally, we you'll realize from your own life itself that there are times when you feel that okay, everything is a ground state, but there are times when you start, when you call about when you talk about being slightly at an elevated state. When when you start hearing when you're hearing sharpens and you feel the words are just coming into you.
Yeah.
A lot of it happens unconsciously for us because we are not trained into that yoga and those practices. Whether you are a carpenter or an author or when you are building something, your best work always comes out when your consciousness is it has elevated, right? The trick is how to do it consistently. That is the challenge. So those people who are able to do it, I think they are the what you call the great masters.
Yeah.
That and the moment you read their output, you realize that okay, this is something that only somebody truly inspired would have written or created or painted or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. I was having a similar discussion with a friend a few days back, and we realized that as per Gita, this process of elevating yourself, it has mentioned it is called as enlightenment. In Buddhism, they call it reaching the level of Buddhahood. It is all about elevating yourself and realizing the true worth
Yeah.
within you. Like we were talking about that hero coming out. It is all about that positive side, ultimate positive
Yeah.
being that resides within you. It could be dormant right now, but elevating,
Yeah.
bringing that positivity out and reaching that level of enlightenment, the ultimate stage wherein you know everything. And I think the stories that I've read, I think my social media Instagram algorithm has changed because I keep getting these feeds from different studies on the human subconscious mind and how people
Mhm.
actually there is unlimited power in our subconscious mind. I
Yeah.
mean, and no, I read a few studies wherein people were able to actually transport their minds to miles and miles of, like there was this one person, there was this study going on in the US in 1960s, wherein this person was able to actually travel to Jupiter through his, while body was here, but he traveled to Jupiter and he reported how the rings and all, and that time humanity did not know that Jupiter had rings. And all those, it just shows that how much potential we have within us. All we need to do is believe in it, and there is always a trigger that pulls it out.
So the basis of what we call the Indian knowledge system is actually finding that finding a way consistently to reach that higher state. So there is one book I'll recommend you. It's from IIT Hyderabad.
Okay.
It's called Introduction to Indian Knowledge System. It will give you uh, a very very detailed breakdown of the why behind whatever you just mentioned, the why of it, and
Mhm.
how in India there was an actual manual to access those higher states of consciousness. And that is what true happiness,
Mhm.
what we called lot of we hear this word anand,
Absolute happiness, which is
absolute happiness.
unshakable. Mhm.
So how do you reach that? That state is called turiya or anand. Like how do you reach that state consistently? And that is a
Mhm.
lifelong practice. But the fundamentals of Indian knowledge system is actually based upon that. So highly recommend that book. You will. It's probably the best book for somebody who is looking to get into the subject. It's just open speaking.
Anything else that you would like to share with the
No,
viewer?
no, you.
Think about
First of all, thank you so much for having this conversation. I enjoyed a lot. You're too kind. Once a book is written, then it is not my property or anything like that. It is now in everybody's hands. I actually look at it as that, like I have done my duty and that submitted it to the feet of Ma Saraswati. After that, as long as I am happy, and that's how I deal with whether a book is successful or bad reviews or good reviews or financially it did well or not. I always look at the point of me making the decision, submitting it and saying that, okay, this is like I haven't done any false activity while preparing this. I have been as true as possible to myself
and it shows.
and to
Shows.
this particular subject. So that is where I am. And the other thing with this book is that it actually has helped me to connect a lot of different facets that I had given up. So, for example, for Ritrahan, the cover page is something that I had brought.
Yeah,
If you look at this cover page,
yeah.
it's something that it's also written, illustrated by Ratul Chakraborty. So, so I actually, after submitting the manuscript, I got bored and I said that, okay, what would, uh, what would uh, a cover page for this look like? If I had to imagine this myself.
Yeah.
And then I made some 18 or 19 paintings and sent them all to my publisher. And like,
Wow.
you choose if you want.
You're a painter too? I mean, actually, do you
Yeah,
paint?
yeah,
My God.
yeah, actual physical painting, like watercolor.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Uh,
wow.
so that's something that I keep on doing. Like, this is the
Which is a form
last,
of
this is one of the
creativity from
last
their
ones that I
side.
did.
Wow.
Lot of,
Just show it once more.
it's
It's
like,
beautiful.
it's
Oh,
like the two trees of Valinor in the Lord of the Rings. So it's something that I keep doing in that, and it's something that Vitrahan actually led me back to it. I used to paint a lot when I was in school. Then I had kind of given up because I didn't have time. But thanks to Vitrahan, I picked up the brush again, and now I kind of try
you're
to
a
paint at
creator
least
at heart.
once in 2 weeks or something.
I mean, I think the
So,
only forms of creativity you may, that are left could be, I don't know, music and dance. Are you a musician and a dancer too?
see, my 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 wife's name is Surela. Okay, so that
He's
so
the
that
so the third department is hers. Okay, amazing.
so even this one is a photograph that I had taken at this thing, Banaras. So me and my wife we had gone to Banaras. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, we had taken a boat ride on the Ganga, and this is one of those pictures from that particular boat ride, which the publisher likes. It because this should be a good
Yeah.
front for book. So being creative is a good outlet. I think more and more people need to start like 2-3 generations ago. Everybody would have a hobby. Even if you don't have like a unique hobby, they would actually go and do some sankirtan or sub bat ke bhajan they would do. Like there was some sort of creative outlet for every individual. There's this very beautiful Samudragupta, the Gupta emperor. He has coins where he's shown playing the veena. At the same time, he's a great warrior also. So I think one of the tragedies of modern life is that we are told to optimize
Mm,
and give up on these things in
yeah.
the name of optimizing our time. And I feel that creates a lot of the mental and struggles that people go through is because you don't have a creative outlet.
Mm,
So I tell people that please waste your time as much like have some time for wasting.
yeah.
Like you have those 2 hours in which you are not accountable to anybody. Even if you don't do anything, you just sit and not do anything. Have that time so that your brain actually gets mind. One of these questions he asked, I'll ask you also. When was the last time you listened to music without doing anything else?
Without doing anything else, it happens when, I'm sitting in the car and my husband is driving. Otherwise, I usually put it on while I'm doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of this, that's why I'm saying, like, any artistic activity, whether even, you know, even appreciating these things, it is mental training.
Right.
If you have lost touch with that, most people, when you say that, okay, I don't have time, like you don't have time to listen to for a 5 minute song by yourself. Like if I give you and you said, okay, listen to this song, earlier days, one of these ragas would go for 1 hour
Yeah.
and people used to sit and listen to it. Now, for 5 minutes, most people cannot sit and listen to a song, you know, like without doing anything else. You're like, you don't do anything, you just listen to the song
Yeah.
without looking at the phone.
These days are what, 2.5 minutes long now.
So, so I think these are all training, and I think it's important that at least I hope that if I can write a book, then anybody can try and get into that. So all I would say is that even if you don't write a book, unleash your inner creator, because there is that creator within all of us, and the solution to most of your mental stresses,
Yeah.
is that if like take refuge in Ma Saraswati,
Yeah.
and she will save you.
Yeah. Very.
So that's what I would, if I have to say anything, this is what I say. Because, books and all, they're out. People will read it. Somebody will love it. Somebody will not love it. But larger point is that get into the space of beyond this hyper optimized life that we have. Get into the rather like this space where you tap into the irrational. And
Absolutely. And I think this journey begins the moment you decide to find who you are. Everything begins
this,
from that one question, who am I? And because, once I started on this path that, okay, I think I'm a writer. Let me figure out, am I actually a writer? And one after another, I was reaching these milestones that I never thought I had it in me. I did not know I had this potential in me. And once I did that, I was like, okay, what's next? So let me, can I do stock trading as well? And I started doing stock trading besides being, besides writing poetry and all. And all that happened after I started to search who am I. And I was, constantly trying to challenge myself that, okay, I have done this. I've, started writing poetry from corporate sales. I mean, can I actually get into this as well? And I was like, okay, so there is no end to, how much potential exists within us. Our subconscious mind is a reservoir of this untapped energy waiting to be explored. So it's
yeah.
amazing. And the starting point is, who am I?